Hello everyone, welcome back to OC Recovery's YouTube channel. Today I have a video style that I've actually never done before. I've done videos and talked about all the books on the reading list, but I have a book today. I'm a big reader. I try to read 30 minutes to an hour a day. Sometimes it's difficult and some days I miss, and I'm pretty good with not getting really frustrated or even upset if I go a few days without reading. It's something I've had to work on a lot because many of you know I was really rigid on my routines. But I have a really good book that I started like 3 days ago, and I'm basically already done with it. And it's called The Leader Who Had No Title. Now, this is a business book, and it's amazing, in my opinion. I've learned a lot of great things from it. One of the cool things about reading in general, just outside the reading list, the books on the reading list, just general learning, is it educates you in ways that, a lot of people just didn't have the access to for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We have so much, readily information just at our fingertips, and it's amazing. So what I'm going to do is the sticky notes are on 10 different quotes. I'm going to talk about those quotes and how I believe they meant something to me on the recovery journey. Now, the book is a fictional story. I'm not done with it yet, so I don't know what the end holds, but it's a fictional story about a gentleman named Blake, who goes and meets with this guy named Tommy, and he introduces him to 4 different people who lead without a title. One was a professional skier, one was a CEO of a big multi-billion-dollar company, one was a house cleaner, and and the 4th one is, I forgot. I'm at the 4th. Oh, a massage therapist. So, okay, quote number 1. I medicated myself with too much TV, too much food, and too much worry, all designed to avoid having to feel the pain that one feels at recognition of one's lost potential. So there are certain things in that I obviously don't agree with the lost potential stuff, but I do agree with that it's really easy to numb yourself when you're going through any type of recovery journey or trying to, make any type of drastic changes in your life. It's really easy to, sit down on social media for 6 hours straight, sit down on TikTok. These things are made to be very addicting. And as many people hear me say, I love social media. I love making fun of people on social media, like my friends, and sending them funny gifts. I'm sure it drives them crazy. But it is important to talk about that there needs to be a balance from it, because it is very easy when you're chronically suffering to get lost in the transaction of social media and kind of just go blank and just sit on the couch all day. And that can be really problematic for us. Okay. Number 2. This is a great one. The highest of all human abilities is the ability each of us holds to choose how we respond to the environment we find ourselves in. Now, as many of you know, you're more than likely not going to be able to control a lot of things in your life. Humans have a huge problem with uncertainty. Uncertainty is really the only way to go forward in life. You can have routines and set schedules, but more than likely things are always going to go haywire, especially if you own your own business like I do. And, it's not that this won't happen if you don't own your own business. You could be an employee at a high stressful job. Maybe you're someone who answers phone calls at the police station. I mean, holy shit. Crazy things probably happen. Getting screamed at, getting cursed at, getting yelled at, having to put people on hold. So, you can't always control a lot of the stressors that just pop up in your life, but what you can control is your reaction to these stressful situations. This isn't to say that you're not going to feel stressful. You probably will in the midst of it and for quite some time with OCD, but you can start to learn how to accept the presence of it. This is why we talk about unconditional self-life and other acceptance while going throughout the rest of your day, and that's super important. As many of you know, I only drink black coffee. But for some reason, I said to myself just now, I'm going to put some of that hazelnut cream in my coffee. And I could see why this stuff is so addicting. Because it no longer tastes like coffee. It tastes like a smoothie. Okay. Number 3. This is super important. And by the way, just because you haven't yet received the benefits of positive deeds you may have done doesn't mean they're not coming. Now, that can be viewed as reassurance, but I am going to break it down. This is super important. When we start making changes in our life, no matter what it is with OCD recovery or anything, maybe you want to start a new job, maybe you want to build better lifestyle habits, lose some body weight, maybe not drink as much, quit smoking cigarettes, maybe get better at listening instead of actually talking during a conversation. That was something I really had to work on. You're not going to see the results right away. One of my buddies who I met before Rob, his name is Aaron, who actually introduced me to Rob, was saying he was like a year and a half into recovery, working on recovery when my first day I put video games away of May of last year. And I remember being in the post office freaking out. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And he's like, you're not going to see the results from what you put in. You're not going to see the fruits from your labor for a long time. And it is important to realize that. Not forever. You can see changes pretty drastically. Jade talked about, once she figured out that she had OCD, it kind of took the first onion layer off. But, we don't need a diagnosis, but it can help at times. And that is super important to talk about. So you're more than likely not going to see those results right away like you want them to. It's important to talk about that. Okay. Number 4. There goes the dogs. Probably the bark at something. Let's see. Getting up early in the morning is one of the more intelligent daily practices that leaders without a title perform with acute consistency. Reminds me of the words of Ben Franklin, who once observed, "There will be plenty of time to sleep once you're dead." He looked down at the graves. Now, this is a great quote. It's something that we all probably struggle with when you want to be an entrepreneur or if you want to do things in your life and you get really passionate. You start to kind of neglect your sleep. Sleep is important, but it's more than likely not as important as we make it out to be. There's plenty of years where hundreds, if not thousands, the majority of human existence where people did not have comfortable places to sleep unless you were a royal or some type of highly successful, rich person. That just wasn't the case until the industrialized era, like even 100 years ago, where most people had more comfortable beds. And that's actually not even true, because if you watch the movie Titanic and you look at the third steer, and that was in 1914, 1917, one of those 2 years, they didn't have really comfortable beds. And that was only 100 years ago. So it's important to look at that. This isn't to say, sleep needs a balanced act. All those things we talk about, like trying to perfect your sleep, the right temperature, the right blanket, the right everything, perfection. It's not that you can't use some of those things, but when you attach yourself meaning to those things, and when you absolutely demand that you need them, it can be problematic. So it is important to talk about that, if you sleep 6 hours, if you want to sleep 6 hours, to, maybe have 14 extra hours a week to say, hang out with your family or your dogs or do a new business or learn a new language, that's okay too. You don't have to be crazy and be like, I need to sleep 8 hours and stuff like that. This page has 2 quotes. So the 5th one is, success is created through the performance of a few small daily disciplines that stack up over time to produce achievements far beyond anything else you could ever plan for. Now, the process of recovery is not overly complex, but the actual, the internal working of going through recovery is difficult. But what's needed: exposures, uncertainty, unconditional self-life, other acceptance, time, and patience. There's only about 10 things, perseverance, dedication, persistence, dealing with ups and downs. The blueprint for recovery is quite simple. And it takes a lot of patience to be able to apply these things in a daily aspect, because things just happen in life. It's really difficult sometimes to start acting in certain ways when you're having a stressful day and life is happening and stuff like that. As Jade said in her new video, the one I love, that she was like, I'm working at applying unconditional self-life and other acceptance to just daily things in my life, because her OCD took over her life for so long. So it is really important to talk about that. You don't need to do one of my other favorite quotes that isn't in this book. You don't have to do 6,000 things. You have to just do 6 things correct over and over again. There's some truth to that, especially in business. Number 6. This is the farmer quote. I love this one. The process sort of makes me think of farming. Seeds get planted, the crops get watered, and the soil gets fertilized. Nothing seems to happen. And yet the farmer doesn't give up. The farmer doesn't run out into the field and start digging to find vegetables. The farmer has patience, trusts the process. He just has the faith and deep understanding that through his daily efforts, the harvest will come. And then one day, almost out of nowhere, it does. This is the best quote of all time, in my opinion. This explains OCD in the most condensed, short conception of the whole entire journey. So, as I said in one of the other quotes, working on acceptance, applying unconditional self-life, other acceptance. moving with uncertainty and facing exposures doesn't just make your OCD go away. And there is a huge part of faith that you're going to have to put on this. And this is why uncertainty is so big. Because you have to say to yourself, maybe in the 1% scenario, maybe I work on this for 2 years and I don't really see too many results. For some reason, you just might be that type of person. Maybe genetically, other things are going on. You haven't really nailed the core fear yet. So you're not going to see the results immediately. And that is very important to talk about once again. Number 7. What other people think of you is none of your business. Leadership is about having unshakable faith in your vision and unrelenting confidence in your power to make positive change happen. Forget about what others might say. And remember what Albert Einstein once wrote. Great spirits have always encountered opposition from mediocre minds. Now, I don't, per se, I wouldn't say mediocre minds because I don't want to put anyone down, and this isn't just OCD recovery, this is just life in general. You're not going to go through life without adversities. You're not going to go through life with other people trying to put you down if you're doing something new. So in my profession, I do a lot more rehab than say other people in my profession do, and I got a lot of hate for that. Just saying, well, that's not what we typically do, and that doesn't matter what we typically do. The herd mentality, and when everyone's moving in the same direction and everyone starts thinking the same way blindly, it's good to at least sit down and critically analyze them. Why are they moving in that direction? And the crowd might be right. The crowd's not always wrong. More than likely, usually is wrong. Because it's just easier to blindly follow. So you're going to get, people aren't going to understand OCD. People maybe will have doubts and unconditional self-life, other acceptance in the OCD community. And you might have hardships through your family. I remember, because our first house we're going to buy this year is going to be our first rental property. And I remember someone in my family was like, you don't want to do real estate. It's too much work, blah, blah, blah. It was just all negative, negative, negative. That's going to happen. That came from my family. It's just the way my family's conditioned. There's a lot of negativity and putting people down. I can't be mad at them anymore. They grew up like that. So you're going to face adversities in your life. So it is important to talk about that. Number 8. This is a great one. So this was the housekeeper at one of the really nice hotels said this to Blake, the person who's being trained. The first step is truly the hardest, because you're fighting the forces of gravity of your old thinking and habits. No human being likes change. We love predictability. So anything new scares us, sets our internal systems into varying degrees of confusion and chaos. But you can't reach mastery unless you're always willing to take control to move things forward. Imagine doing 5 little important acts every day until you get closer to your goals. So this is really important. A lot of people are very discouraged when they start bringing down compulsive behaviors. Like when I put away video games, which was my biggest avoidance compulsion, it freaked me the fuck out. I mean, I was freaking out because I had avoided for so long that it was very uncomfortable. And especially with OCD, our brain's trying to protect us, so this is really heightened with us. But you're going to have to feel that and learn and practice how to feel that discomfort. But the beginning is almost always the hardest because you're not used to doing things. You might have been chronically stuck for 10 years. I think Moment said he was stuck for 7, 8 years. Jade looked like she was stuck for 9 million years. Sorry, Jade. I was only really stuck chronically for a couple of years. I was just fortunate in that regard. But I was really stuck, and I had to realize that one day I was just beating around the bush, and Rob probably was like, he's going to have to come to me. But I just realized I got to put these video games away, and that was a really hard step. Okay, number 9. Rob, you'll like this one. Oliver Wendell Holmes said it well. A mind once exposed to new ideas never regains its original dimensions. So you hear many people say, well, I'm back at square one and stuff like that. And you hear Rob, other moderators and other people that work, that have really started to adopt this philosophy. Even though you might feel like you're back at square one, and I'm not saying it doesn't feel like absolute shit, but you don't forget the tools you've learned. You still understand those tools. So let's read that one more time. A mind once exposed to new ideas never regains its original dimension. Daisy just came in. Milo's been bringing in grasshoppers into the house because that's what he does. So, a little ADHD right there. And It is important to realize that because you can forget very easily on the progress you've made, but it's still there. You still have worked on your beliefs no matter where you are. And remember, the first step will more than likely be the hardest. So, number 10. This is this is just a very philosophical quote. So this is by the man who was a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company and retired early, and now he's a gardener. A gardener. Full-time gardener in New York City. Awesome. My whole life now revolves around gardening, Blake. It never ceases to amaze me how it can take these sterile-looking little seeds and with nurturing and patience, grow them into some of the most wonderful plants your eyes have ever seen. And the same idea lies behind the principle I'm now sharing with you. If you make growing great relationships with people, whether with workers at the bookstore, with customers who live or you touch every day, your number one priority, you'll have all the success and happiness in your career that you can handle. Now, if I was to summarize that in OCD forms, it really comes down to the nurturing and patience. OCD recovery is not easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. You're going to have many doubts. You're going to question recovery. OCD is probably going to latch to recovery. It's probably going to latch to multiple different themes. I was naive in the beginning. I remember saying to Rob, I don't even have that much anxiety. I'll recover from somatic OCD and be good. And that wasn't the case for me, and I don't think that's the case for many people. It does take time to see OCD recovery too. It's not rocket science, but it does take some time. So, I want to end by saying, again, the book, there it is right there, so you can take a picture. A Leader Without a Title. It's not too long. It's like, I don't know, I'm on page 161 and there's 200 pages. So I'm almost done. The book is tremendous. Reading is, I'm very grateful for books. Very, very grateful. I can learn knowledge, and I really read a lot of only nonfiction only because I was just a nerd and read a lot of exercise physiology and pain research, but I've been getting more into the business side. Well, I've been into the business side, but more into it. And then I've been want to read more on biographies. I think that's super important. So do you want to come down and say hi to the, hi? All right, let me take this off so we can look at the dogs real quick before I go. So we got Milo. I know, no more grasshoppers in the house. And then we obviously have Daisy over there that's one of the places she likes to sit because that's where the sun comes in. So thank you so much for watching. We put up the Christmas tree yesterday. Obviously, Erica's got her Canadian flag there. I'm just going to put a huge American flag over the whole entire tree. She'll come home and be like, no. So, but yeah, don't forget to subscribe. As always, if you have any questions down below, feel free to ask, and have a great day.